This is Dr. Brett Butterfield, and today I'm going to talk to you about phase 2 of healing. So this is for the individual who's already completed phase 0s and 1. They've been through autonomic recovery and the sugar control phase. They've passed their challenge meal. And so they're moving on to the next phase, which is known as listen to the body. And is what we mean by that is in phase 1, we restored proper regulation of the body and fundamental physiology. And so we expect that you're going to be getting clearer and clearer signals from your body, which is good because symptoms are the language of the body. When something hurts, when something feels yucky or whatever it is, that's your body giving you a message that something is wrong. And it's not asking for a drug. It's not asking for something to numb it. It's asking for a correction. It's asking for something to be fixed. And so we really do some fine tuning in phase 2, and we look at some of the nitty gritty, the really important functions of physiology that we want to be working optimally, okay? There is no specific time period for how long phase 2 will take someone to go through because it varies so much from person to person. I've seen a lot of, many patients, a lot of their symptoms are cleared up just in phase 1, going through that program. But many patients will need to go 3 months or 6 months. It really just depends person to person. Okay, so the number one goal in my mind in phase 2 is that we can help a patient be free of their chronic symptoms. That's, I think, what people are coming into my clinic for. That's what they want to get done. So in phase 2, we really are focusing strongly on relieving those symptoms. In order to do that, we still do want to be working holistically, however. We want to get these other important functions online. So I'm going to go through those, but I also want to make a point that in our clinic, our goal is that our patients can be pharmaceutical free. Now, not everyone can do that. If you've had your thyroid removed, I don't know how to get your body to produce thyroid hormones, so you're probably going to be on thyroid medication. And so there's going to be exceptions to that, but I figure if you're coming to a naturopath, I want to help you be pharmaceutical free and have your body be self-regulating and that you can be healthy. Okay, next item is going to be, we're going to be working on the gut microbiota. Now, we did some of this in phase 1. We're gonna just, with all these, phase 1 is kind of like painting with broad strokes, and then phase 2 is painting with fine strokes. So you're gonna be fine tuning the gut microbiota. If you've ever taken antibiotics, if you were C-section or formula fed, or you just haven't eaten fermented foods throughout your life, which is, for me growing up, people weren't eating fermented foods. I think it's becoming more common now here in the United States, but certainly in other parts of the world, it's a staple of diet is fermented foods. But we do use a specific supplement to increase your gut microbiota levels in phases 1 and 2, and that's an acidophilus probiotic. We use acidophilus specifically because it produces a bactericide, which just means it produces a chemical that kills some of the competing bacteria that we don't want in your gut. So we have what's called a surge protocol that Dr. Kevin Millay worked on with, what's that lab? It's the biggest lab in North America. It'll come to me. So they worked on a protocol together, and they came up with this protocol that was proven consistently to raise patients' levels of gut microbiota. It's LabCorp, came to me. Thanks. So we'll be continuing to do that. You should be doing this surge protocol all throughout phase 1 and into phase 2. Don't stop until we tell you to stop. You're probably going to need at least 2 or 3 bottles of this acidophilus. Okay? The goal with that ultimately is there's a certain level of probiotics or good bacteria that you want in your gut in order to have optimal function. We want a reserve of these bacteria, so we want as much as 3 times that minimum for optimal function. And this is important if you ever get sick, you get diarrhea or something like that, and you lose some of those good bacteria. We want you to have a strong reserve of good bacteria. Next is we are going to deviate from what we did in phase 1, which was we were eating foods consistently throughout the day. In phase 1, you really didn't want to go more than 2 hours without eating. In phase 2, the first goal that we have is to be able to go 5 hours without eating. Now, for some of you, that will be a cakewalk. For other people, it's going to really test their sugar regulation mechanisms. And so that's kind of like another challenge that we do here in phase 2 is as your body becomes ready, then you are going to go more time without eating food. Okay, and then we check and see how you did in practice. So it's all about getting your body to be more resilient. There's something we call the caloric formula, and there's this general rule that 3,500 calories equals a pound of body fat. So if you're trying to lose, you're trying to lose weight, trying to reduce, then you could cut out 500 calories a day, and in a week you would lose a pound. Well, it doesn't really work that way for everyone. There's a lot of variation in the body, but usually if you can't follow that formula, there's something wrong with your body. And so it's an important benchmark of how your body and your metabolism are working. So that's something we work to fix in phase 2. While I'm talking about food, there's a really important process in phase 2. So again, this phase 2 is about listening to the body. We're going to be adding in foods one at a time in phase 2. Why do we do it one at a time? So we can be scientific about it. You can, when we add in a food, we have to eat that food every day for 3 days. So let's say in phase 1, there's no grains allowed. So, but you want to add in wheat in phase 2. So every day for 3 days, I'd have you eat wheat, and I'd probably have you eat sourdough wheat, by the way. And we're testing to see how your body deals with that, and if it's a stressor for your body, if it's something that you don't have resilience for yet. Okay, so we do those just one at a time, 3 days at a time. So you could get in 2 new foods a week. And we do that until you have all the foods that you want in your diet. Okay? There might be other areas where you're listening to your body, you need to eliminate certain things. When we're going longer without eating, you gotta listen to your body. You might not be ready to go 5 hours yet. So again, it's just about listening to your body and how to move forward with that. We have a few emotional benchmarks in phase 2. So ultimately, we want your body to be resilient to emotional stressors. Now there's going to be things that are going to happen, they're going to knock you off your rocker, but we want you to be resilient as possible to emotional stressors, because these can have a big effect on your physiology. And so we don't want you to get derailed by some of these emotional stressors. So just by strengthening your physiology, a lot of things we did in phase 1, it's going to really do a lot to strengthen your emotional resilience. But we have additional procedures in phase 2. And one of the big ones is something we call core belief. I'm not going to go into great detail on that in this video, but core belief is like this negative belief that you have about yourself, and it's a big stressor that just weighs on you. And so we have a procedure that we do in this phase to get you off of that negative belief and get you focused on kind of the thing that you like best about yourself. It's your brightest hope. the best thing about you. And that has a huge, significant impact on your health. And one of the ways that we measure that with these phase 2 benchmarks is called a baseline stress level. And so we made a scale from 0 to 10 on what's your baseline stress level. And I think of this like the idle on your car. So the idle on your car, you need some gas for your engine to be running. If you have no gas, then your engine will die. So we do want some stress, right? But too much is too much. So it's like if your idle was having the pedal pushed to the floor, you're just gonna run out of gas soon, and then your car's gonna die that way, okay? So we want a low baseline stress level on a scale from 0 to 10 be about 1.5, okay? And so the core belief is going to be a huge part of that, and we might look at some other things as well to reduce your baseline stress level. We want to make sure that you're getting good restorative sleep. If you're not sleeping well, it's very unlikely that you're going to get better and that you're going to reach your health goals. So what does good sleep look like? It's 6 to 8 hours is what most people need of sound sleep. That means that you fall asleep within about 15 minutes and you don't wake up during the night and you don't really move during the night. Your body goes into a state of paralysis when you're in a deep sleep. And you wake up in the morning and you feel refreshed. You feel ready to go conquer the day. Go carpe diem. Okay? So that's what we want to achieve. Really make sure that's happening in phase 2. So the last benchmark I'm going to talk about is bowel movements. Save the best for last. So it's called a gastrocolic reflex. And that means that when you eat food and it goes into your stomach, that's going to create the peristalsis in your gut. That is going to get things going in your gut. And it's going to move, get your colon moving especially. And so if your nervous system is working, specifically your enteric nervous system, if your gut is moving the way that is optimal, then you would have a bowel movement after every meal within 32 minutes to an hour. If you're not having that bowel movement, then we have a technique we use. We call it adult potty training. And it means you go to the bathroom whether you feel like it or not, and you're just getting your body trained to be able to go use the bathroom, okay? So if you're not having bowel, ideally the same number of bowel movements as meals in a day, we have some more work to do there. I'll bring it up with the sleep too. The sleep and bowel movements, digestion, those are parasympathetic functions. So really important at this phase. I think I skipped over actually, we call it grizzly bear, which is sympathetic dominance. Is there's some sort of stressor or some sort of threat to your body that's putting you in that sympathetic state, fight and flight. We're gonna make sure you get out of that state in phase 2, really reduce that. So that's part also of the baseline stress level. If you haven't been doing in phase 1, some techniques to help with sleep. We have in your handout, it talks about how to get a good night's rest. There's a lot of sleep hygiene on there, some different tips and tricks, things that you can apply in order to get a good night's rest. There's some acupuncture points that are very effective. And then also it's going to be about getting your body in a rhythm. So your body operates on rhythms. And so specifically we're going to be talking about the circadian rhythm, and it's going to be about getting your body, you're going to bed, you're waking up at the same time every day, okay? So that can be really important to get you to sleep well. Revisit that in your handout if you're not familiar with what I'm referring to. Okay, so those are the benchmarks of phase 2. There are multiple other benchmarks later on down the road. that will be getting your body to function more and more optimally. And so, we've covered phases 0, 1, and 2, and that is what we refer to as sound body. And our hope is that you will be able to eliminate your chronic symptoms and start feeling a lot better by this time. And you'll be listening to the body. So this is where you start kind of driving your own car on your health journey. Okay, I want my patients to be autonomous and that they don't have to heavily rely on me. Maybe just come in for checkups and tune-ups, but really be getting to the point where they're learning how to, they can be healthy. Okay, so I'm going to create another video for phase 3, probably on a later day. Cheers.